proudly presented by Pence Homes and part of the Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network. This is Lynx Happy Hour. All right. Welcome back, Lynx fans, to the first episode of 2026. Unfortunately, we are reacting to not the best news, though I guess it could be worse. New Year's morning, thought there might be some good WNBA news coming our way. New CBA, maybe? Nope. Napheesa Collier having surgery on both ankles, the left and the right. So, of course, I have to have this reaction episode featuring my friend and colleague at the Nine, Dr. LUCAS Seehaffer, assistant professor of exercise and sports science at repeat the school one more time now that we're talking in line. Lucas, I totally forgot it. Bethany Lutheran?
Yeah, Bethany
okay,
Lutheran.
I was about to say Trinity Lutheran. Okay, I don't know why. Bethany Lutheran. Lucas, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. First of all, Happy New Year to you, man. How are you been doing?
Yeah, same to you. Busy. The semester starts on Monday. Got one of the fun things in my role is I get to teach human anatomy with cadaver dissection. So we got the cadavers
Okay.
recently and got the lab all set up. So, another day, another dollar, as they say.
For sure. Yeah, there really are no Sunday scaries that can match the Sunday before the Monday back to work after winter break. That's kind of crazy. So best of luck to you and especially all your students. But since you're working with cadavers and stuff, I gotta ask, maybe we've talked about this before. Have you had any conversations about cadavers and stuff like that with aspiring mortician and now WNBA assistant coach Sylvia Fowles? Have you guys ever been able to chat about that
Yeah.
stuff, that shared interest that the two of you have?
Yeah, funny enough, before her final season, it had kind of come out that she was not only was she retiring, but when she retired, she was going to go to mortuary science school. And I put in a request for an interview, and she said, "Yeah, I'll do it, but not right now because it's the start of the season, and I just want to focus on the season and all that stuff." And
Yeah.
by the time the end of the season came around, we never had the chance to sit down and actually talk about it. But there were plans at one point for us to do that.
Right. Well, she's been on this show, and I mean, it's great to see you on video right now. Right now, I'm just only publishing the audio for this. Maybe we'll get on YouTube at some point in 2026, and this will be a video show as well. Though, for the life of me, I still don't understand why people watch podcasts. It's one of those things, but I'm about to turn 38 too, so I don't need to get it. But Sil, before we start recording, said, "I'm sorry, I can't turn the video on. I'm at the morgue." And that interest of hers had I knew it, but I also was just like I wasn't planning on talking with her about that because she was about
Right.
to be back in the Twin
Yeah.
Cities for some honoring somebody, one of the many great things. Lynx have like 10 days a year where they have to honor all the great players of the past. So it's something like that, and I just was like, oh, the morgue, you say, like
Yeah.
as one is. So yeah, but now that she'll be back on the WNBA circuit, we can probably organize that when the Portland Fire are in town.
Yeah,
So
yeah, there you go. That'd be
we'll
fun.
talk more offline about that. But the A topic, unfortunately, Napheesa Collier requiring surgery on both ankles, the left and the right. The left, she of course hurt in that infamous end to Game 3 against the Phoenix Mercury with the collision with Alyssa Thomas and the no call heard around the world. The previous injury to the right ankle in early August in that absolute blowout against the Las Vegas Aces that we love to question. Phee still being on the court. It was the third quarter, so it's still early to pull people, but we don't need to relitigate that either. The facts of the matter is Phee surgically repairing both ankles announced now. So all things seem to state that this surgery will take place sometime within this week, conducted in New York City. Just kind of what was your reaction to this news, Lucas, and why she may require surgery now when she had previously just been trying to, rehabilitate it, and kind of like what are the differences there for those of us who don't know as much about the human ankle as you do, sir?
Yeah, yeah. And before I answer, I probably technically should say that in addition, I'm a physical therapist for Mayo Clinic. The Lynx and Timberwolves obviously have a orthopedic partnership with the Mayo Clinic. Um, I obviously have no, I'm not going to be doing her rehab. I don't even know if she's rehabbing at Mayo Clinic, all that stuff. So that stipulation out of the way.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I put a post out on Blue Sky over the last couple days, kind of mentioning this and how it's like, it's not uncommon for someone to do an extensive rehab before undergoing a surgery after a major injury. When the injury occurred at the time, because I think so, it was basically October 1st when the injury happened. So we're looking at what, November, December, January. So like 4 months, which isn't, again, it's not it seems like a long time, but it's not an abnormal amount of time to try rehab, especially for injuries that don't always require surgery. So what we was reported at the time was that, she sprained the right ankle against the Aces, sprained the left ankle, and they said that she ruptured three ligaments and a muscle
Mhm.
in her ankle. Chances are, what they mean by a muscle is the tendon that was in the ankle, more so than an actual muscle. But those structures have really good blood flow relative to many of the other ligaments and tendons in the body. So there is a chance that they can, if not heal completely, at least heal enough to the point where the ankle regains its structural integrity, especially if you build up the muscles surrounding those structures to in an attempt to try and prevent injury. So ultimately, we can presume that the reason why she's undergoing surgery is because for whatever reason that structural integrity maybe didn't come back all the way. Um, and there can be many reasons behind that. It could be that the ligaments didn't heal fully. It could be that we have this innate sense called proprioception, which is basically our body's ability to tell where it is in space. And the ankle, in particular, has lots of these little nerve endings that provide these proprioception. And those nerve endings are found in kind of the ligaments and the tendons and the joint caps and all these things that surround the joint. So a lot of the times, what we actually see is that sometimes these structures do heal, and from a theoretical standpoint, they should provide enough stability to the ankle, but that proprioception is thrown out of whack. And for whatever reason, it's just not coming back. So we don't know the full details of what exactly she's having surgery on, so it's tough to know,
Okay.
project too much. But they did say she was going to miss what, like 4 months. Um,
4 to 6 is the timeline that's been reported.
Right, which is pretty consistent with, and they did say multiple surgeries too, but it isn't clear to me if that means multiple surgeries as in one on the left, one on the right, or multiple surgeries as in one on the left, multiple on the right. It wasn't
Yeah,
clear in that reporting. But that timeline, that 4 to 6 month timeline, is pretty consistent with like ligament reconstruction type of surgeries.
for sure. All right, there's a lot of information in there, and I'm not going to act like, oh yeah, totally the
Yeah.
with every part of the ankle, but I think an overarching part of that people need to understand, and I imagine there's more Lynx fans listening to this show than just Unrivaled fans, that the decision to, or just even the realization that this would need surgery isn't something that could have happened on October 1st because you don't know how it's going to heal. Um, it might stop me at any point if I'm saying anything incorrect, Lucas. But so, because I was kind of thinking that if she could have had the surgeries done as close to the end of the season as possible, when like whatever timeline that might be, weeks, a month or so, that decision would have meant for sure missing at least a good chunk of Unrivaled. And there's also the chance that you get essentially all of October, November, and December to rehab. There is that chance that she'd be ready for Unrivaled, and also ready for WNBA training camp, which doesn't seem like too big of a gamble, but the chance is always there that it might not heal correctly. Is that kind of like consistent, like with what you're telling me? Like you just kind of need a certain amount of time to understand if a surgical procedure can even help the rehabilitation of this injury. And that's just not something you can do immediately after the Lynx lose game four.
Yeah, so it can be the short answer is yeah, kind of. The longer answer is like
Right.
chances are like my guess, I don't think it was ever said, but my guess is that Phee got multiple opinions from multiple surgeons and medical teams before making a decision to just, just rehab it. Um, I know when the reports first came out said that surgery wasn't going to be required. But a lot of the times what happens is these start out in one of two ways. Either they go to the doctor and they say, no, surgery probably isn't required at this time. Let's try to rehab it first. And based on if you meet certain, markers at certain time periods, then we'll either continue with the rehab process or we'll go back and have surgery. Or the doctor says, no, we need surgery to correct it, at which point they usually get a second opinion. If that second
Mhm.
opinion confirms it, then they have surgery. If the second opinion doesn't confirm it, then they kind of go back to what I first said originally. So
Sure.
what's possible is that the doctors that she met with said, potentially you could have surgery right now, but let's see if we can recover without surgery. And I would say most, orthopedic surgeons that are really good at what they do are going to try and go that route, especially
Mhm.
because she had such a long time frame. Like if this happened at the beginning of the season, maybe they would have pushed to have surgery so that she could potentially come back before the end of the season, or at the very least be fully recovered by the time the offseason came around, so then she'd be ready for Unrivaled in the beginning of the next season. But because it was literally like their last game, they're just like, hey, we've got time. Let's try and heal this without having to do surgery. And it's possible that what happened was she regained her range of, like, she hit these critical landmarks, regaining range of motion, reducing swelling, improving strength, all these things until it got to the point of, all right, now we have to play in competition, and
Mhm.
that's when things just didn't feel right yet, you know? So it's very rarely is it a yes or no decision. Usually there's what's the term I'm looking for? Like gradations in when or certain time periods and when these decisions are made. And if they're not made immediately and you're checking off the boxes, then it just delays the surgery more and more, and and in some cases completely eliminates the need for it. But at this point, it was obvious something wasn't quite right. Something's not quite right. I have to play in competition. If I have to have the surgery, let's do it now. So then I'll be out until and depending, and with the CBA situation being up in the air, I'm sure that was a factor in it as well. Um,
Yeah.
of hey, if I need to have the surgery, let's have it now, because at the very, worst case scenario, I miss half of the WNBA season. I still have the back half of the WNBA season to compete. So I'm guessing
Sure.
that's kind of the thought process that went along with it.
This episode of Links Happy Hour is brought to you by Pence Homes. The team at Pence Homes has experience working with first time home buyers, folks selling their first home and buying their next place, to people looking to downsize. With the best tools, technology, and trusted vendors to help with any home project, Pence Homes is a top choice for buyers and sellers. For more info and to set up a time to meet with Nate and the team to talk about your home buying or selling needs, visit pencehomes.com. That is Pence, PentzHomes.com. Because if the surgery does take place this week and is successful, then the best case scenario in that timeline would be sometime during the preseason. So
Mhm.
that, yeah, that kind of, thought process makes sense to me. In terms of, obviously, like you mentioned, like the layperson and the casual fan just kind of thinks of this as like ankle surgery. And as you mentioned, this could be, dozens of different types of surgery, especially with it being both ankles involved, and what
Mhm.
needs to be repaired in the left is different than what needs to be repaired in the right. Just with what we know kind of what is are some of like the details about this surgery, and like what would kind of be like the most difficult things to come back from? Like, what is the most challenging thing of this particular kind of rehab? Obviously we know Phee is one of the greatest athletes on the planet, but is, still human and not necessarily a miracle worker. So we will have to, uh, pay attention as she navigates, yet another, difficult process. But just kind of what are some parts of, if are there any like touchstones after the surgery takes place that you as a medical professional would be, telling your client to, keep an eye on and to look out for?
Yeah, so really, most of these things have, each surgical team or each surgeon has their own protocols as far as like what can and can't be done after surgery. It also depends on the type of surgery you have depends on how aggressive, or I should say, the type of recovery you have depends on how aggressive the protocol is, right? So
Mhm.
there are certain procedures where you want to have a very, very slow progressing protocol to ensure healing. And really, what we know is that from a biological tissue standpoint, the tissues themselves will heal at pretty predictable timelines. Um, so a lot of these protocols are based on time. Like after X amount of weeks, then you can start jumping. After X more weeks, then you can start jogging. After X more weeks, and so on and so forth. Because a lot of those tissues, we know they will heal in, 4 to 6 weeks or whatever. Um, but the key standpoint from for the beginning is okay, you have surgery, literally that day start working on range of motion. Because the faster you can get your range of motion back, the better the process is gonna be, and it reduces the likelihood of re-injury if you have normalized range of motion.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes with these ankle procedures too, especially in basketball players, and especially if you've had multiple ankle sprains, we used to say like, or it used to be said, or kind of the layman's terms is, if you sprain your ankle, you're more likely to sprain your ankle again because those ligaments have been overstretched and they don't return back to normal. That's not entirely true. What happens is that the proprioception that I talked about earlier gets thrown out of
Sure.
whack. So sometimes with these ankle procedures, it's not actually a bad thing to have them not fully regain all of their range of motion, because it keeps their ankle quote unquote tighter, to prevent or to increase the likelihood of not recurring those ankle sprains again in the future. But the first key step point, touch point, regain that range of motion, and then ultimately from there, this kind of the from there, the next kind of big milestone is being able to jog. Um, and then from there cut, and then from there begin quote unquote basketball activities, and then from there, 3-on-3 on practice, 5-on-5 on practice, and then ultimately getting back to playing a game.
Right. How much more difficult will this be for her that it's both ankles? Like
Mhm.
my father-in-law just had knee surgery and is doing all this stuff too, and like we're helping him out around the house, during the holidays, and at least he's got another knee and another fully good leg to
Mhm.
to lean on. What is how just like how much more of a challenge or just of a like discomfort is it when it's like what will Phee be able to walk right away after that? Like, as you mentioned, like back to range of motion right away.
Mhm.
Will she be in just like double boots? Will it have to be, like a crutch situation? Just kind of like, how much more difficult is it for the patient slash athlete when it's a medical procedure like this that's taking place on, both ankles?
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes back to what ultimately is she having surgery on? Because there are some conditions like cartilage injuries where the surgeons quite often will say, non-weight bearing for 4 to 6 weeks or whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas for some of those ligament reconstructions, they allow weight bearing, but
Mhm.
in like a boot or something like that. So, she was on the scooter after
Yeah.
the initial injury. Um, so I guess I can't say for sure, but as far as like what are the outcomes, most of the research I'm aware of that looks at bilateral, is in the technical term for it, surgical procedures, is that in the long term, like we're looking like a year out, The outcomes are pretty similar to if you only had one side done. Like the outcomes are
Okay.
still pretty good. It's just the beginning stages of the rehab are that m much more difficult because not only are you now having to, like you said, if it was just ankle surgery on the right, you have your entire left leg that can weight bear, and you're only having to do exercises on one side of your body and that kind of stuff. When you're doing both,
Mhm.
now you have literally twice the exercise volume that you have to knock out. And if you're non-weight bearing on both, then I guess you're in a wheelchair, or something like that. I would be shocked if she was non-weight bearing in both, just
Okay.
knowing what I know about protocols and that kind of stuff. Um, I would imagine if she had to be in a wheelchair, they wouldn't do both of them at the same time. But that's just guess on my end. My guess it would be probably be some combo of a crutch and boot and maybe a scooter situation.
For sure. Well, get well soon, Fee. Uh, take both of my ankles if you need them. You'd make better use of them than I'm. We were talking about this on the nine chat as well, just about doing this, and also, she's got a toddler running around,
Mhm.
and I know you can relate to that much better than I can. I think your
Oh yeah.
kid is probably just maybe is a year younger than Mila, or a few months younger than Mila.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the challenge that comes in with having a little one running around while you're trying to recover from a major medical procedure.
Oh,
Um,
100%. I mean, even if you say you have a good support system and the husband can do all the work and they go, well, if that little
right,
baby wants mommy, the baby wants mommy, like
exactly.
ankles or
And
not.
well, I mean, missing Unrivaled too, like
Yeah.
Fee's husband, Alex, his job is running Unrivaled. So it's not like
Oh,
Alex and just, yeah, I'll get the kid. Don't worry about it.
exactly.
So yeah, the Collier household, busy, busy, busy as always. But yeah, I won't doubt that she'll be able to get through it. I want to take a moment to plug just some of the injury work that you've been able to do with us at the Nine. And let's just be optimistic and say that we'll have a CBA at some point that does not delay the start of the WNBA season, knock wood. Um, just for those who may not be super familiar with it, or if this is their first time, hearing you speak about the WNBA, and don't know your work, just the injury tracking, system, the what like the database that you've put together, what it does, specifically the need that it fills in this space, how long you've been doing it, and then also just as this first time you and I are catching up over the offseason, do I need to submit uh anytime I see someone get hurt during a game, should I still let you know right away, just despite, with my, very minor league opinion on what things might look like.
Yes, yes, please still send me that info.
Okay, will do.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I developed a tracker that, as the name implies, tracks all the injuries that occur to WNBA players that ultimately result in them either being named on the injury report and or missing a game. So, like Phee, for example, will be included in that. And yeah, basically, this will be the fourth year, the fourth season that I've been doing it. I used it to complete my PhD. I did my PhD thesis on WNBA injury epidemiology because it was something in the research that isn't really there,
Mhm.
and especially not to the extent that men's basketball is. Um, and yeah, it serves as basically that's what it serves. It serves as a scientific, hey, look at this data. How can we help? Lower some of these numbers because the numbers are basically saying that injuries are increasing in the WNBA, and something that the WNBA actually finally acknowledged this past season for the first time after denying it for a
Right.
couple years. But yeah, and what it shows is that while there are similarities to what we see in men's basketball, so for example. The most injured body parts in the WNBA are the ankle, the knee, and the foot. It also shows that there are some differences. Like for example, in the WNBA, illnesses are, I believe, the fourth highest reason for games missed, and that's non-COVID illnesses, which is not something we see in the men's basketball. So why would that be? So these are things that we can start, at least asking questions about because again, nobody knew prior to, at least to my knowledge, prior to me starting this injury tracker. We also know that based on uh, some of the studies that I consulted with while writing my thesis is that the injury epidemiology data that was out there um, isn't the most accurate or wasn't the
Hmm.
most accurate. And if it is, then it's super concerning because injuries are up like some astronomical percentage. Um, and also, what we learned in this comes from my more journalism background is that previously teams weren't really using their their in-house injury database. They call it an emergency medical record or EMR. They weren't using that basically documentation database to correctly document a lot of their injuries. Which is, well, one, it's not good for the science because now we can't go to the league and say, hey, share with us your injury data, which I did do,
Yeah.
and they did not send it to me.
Did they
But
even respond to that?
yeah, they said they'd get, they said they would get back to me, and then they never did. So
Okay.
what can you do?
Yeah.
Um, but then I would also say think about this as if it was you going to your doctor, and you
Hmm.
went to your doctor and said, "Hey, can I have my medical record?" And they said, "Oh, sorry, we didn't document it." Like that would be concerning from a patient standpoint. Like that should be concerning from an athlete standpoint too. So one thing I'm super interested in seeing is as this new CBA is being negotiated is what is the league and the Players Association, what are they putting in this new CBA for, in terms of athlete health and athlete tracking of health and that kind of stuff. Because one thing that was in the old CBA was that it said that they were going to establish a new EMR and have it set up so that independent researchers could use it for research to help with the athlete health and basically to help the league grow. And that's exactly what I was trying to do, and I never got that information. And as far as I'm aware, the information wouldn't have been accurate anyway. So I'm interested to see how that
Nice.
changes.
Right. Did Kathy mention you by name when they finally admitted that injuries have been on the rise and that there may be some work for them to do?
No, I don't think she did, but I I had asked her directly, and I've had others ask as proxies, so maybe it was in the back of her mind. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be on some lists, Lucas, but
Yeah.
for doing the Lord's work there. Yeah, one of the many examples of why I think we're all frustrated with this CBA thing, but kind of the information that gets leaked by the league is like, oh, look at the new max salary we propose, and they said no to. It's 200% more, or whatever that they're currently making. Look how greedy the players are being, but also like this is a not simple issue that clearly was missing the mark in a previous CBA. And if you want to have, a fully functioning EMR in the new CBA, you can't just like write EMR and then be like, okay, do it. Like it's, having those things in place that you can say it's now been 4 years of you doing this work. So yeah, it's bullshit that now we're here where we are and we still don't even know if a 2026 season is going to happen, but we're entering information into the injury tracking database for the 2026 season. Not the honor that you wanted, Napheesa Collier,
Yeah.
to be the first entry into that database for
Yeah.
2026. So a bit of a
No kidding.
bummer. But one
And
of
not
them,
only,
go
and
ahead,
one
sorry.
thing that I always point out when I have discussions with others around this is like for as much, crap we give MLB and the NBA and the NFL and MLS and even international soccer, like having an EMR that is available for independent research is like something that they have all like dove into and have accepted. Like if you were to contact MLB and say like the league offices and say like, hey, I'm an independent researcher from X, Y, and Z. I want to run a study on, A, B, and C. Can I have a and what a lot of people don't know is the information that they send these researchers, it's not like it doesn't say like name, address, social security,
Right.
like it's all anonymized. So you can't
Okay,
tell
yeah.
who is hurt. And these are something that these other leagues do and
Right.
then use that research to like help make the league better, at least in
Yeah.
theory.
So you're not
Um,
getting someone's personal,
right.
medical information and everything about them. It's just
Exactly.
details that can be purely educational.
Right. So if the WNBA wants to be, they say that, and rightfully so, that one of their goals is to be a respected league in the world. Like these are the kind of things that come along with being a respected league. It might not seem like a big deal to like the layperson. Like you might say like, who cares? Well, I mean, literally all the other leagues do it.
Right.
So, there's value here that we're losing.
And with we're in this portion too, where third, especially like in football, you see this a lot, where it's like the third party medical professional decides if a player is in concussion protocol or not. Because the teams obviously have a bit of a conflict of interest in making that call there. And, certain teams, I'm sure, have used, third party medical professionals better than others. And that kind of makes me think of the players union wanting to have a bare minimum across the
Mhm.
board. There are teams, obviously, like you've mentioned to me before, like obviously we're Minnesota guys. We talk about the Lynx a lot, but like the Lynx and the Liberty for so long were just in a class by themselves of
Mhm.
putting players in a position to succeed by the medical support that's around them. And
Mhm.
just imagine what it would mean for the league if every team was in that class or at least close to it.
Yeah. And
And
there's recent precedent for that because the NWSL, when they created their new CBA, I think it was like 2 years ago now, something like that, they specifically wrote in there that every single team will have, I forget the details, but it was something like two athletic trainers, one physical therapist, and the physical therapist has to have a sports certification specialty through the
sure.
National Governing Board. So that's another example of an upstart, growing women's professional league that said, "Hey, this is important, and these are the specific goal, like these are the specific needs that these teams have to respect."
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, in the last CBA, there was, as far as I'm aware, and I've looked over the CBA a couple times, there wasn't language in it, at least not to that extent. So we'll see what happens for this next
Yeah.
one.
Every facility has to have one copy of Doctoring for Dummies. And
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
bare minimum. We need it to be a little bit higher than that in this one. Um, so yeah, you just mentioned it with MLB as well and EMR. Since you said the word bilateral, I have to ask you real quick, could I use this information then to learn more about the infamous Joe Mauer's bilateral leg weakness that plagued him late in his
Yes.
career?
Theoretically,
Yeah.
yeah. But you'd have to hope that the anonymized data they sent you is
Right.
from. Yeah,
2011 or whatever it was,
yeah,
2000, something
exactly.
like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, yeah. Well, Fee, best of luck again. Take my ankles. I don't have a toddler. I'd offer Lucas's, but you've also got a toddler running around. You need your ankles
Yeah,
more
my
more
ankles
than
aren't
more
that
than
good
I do.
anyway.
So, thanks so much, man, for taking the time and shedding some light on what is uh issue that I feel like I learned maybe I grasped like 1 to 5% of everything you're saying, but as I'm re-listening to this, I'll learn more and we'll be better, more educated fans for it. So thanks so
Very
much,
good.
Lucas.
That's
And
my
just
goal.
where can people? You mentioned Blue Sky earlier.
Mhm.
Where can people follow you and also find and follow your work?
Yeah, I'm just on Blue Sky these days. Seehafer.bluesky or BS, whatever their tag is. And yeah, you can find my injury tracker on the Nine Hoops. Right, occasionally, not as much as I used to, but those
Yeah,
aforementioned toddlers kind of keep you busy.
right.
But yeah, otherwise, those are kind of the best places to find me.
I don't have any, plans to go to Italy this season where I need you to come off the bench and fill in for me. But
Yeah,
if you ever want to,
I
I
was
don't need to hog the beat all to myself. But
I had to blow the dust off my fingers to write those
hey,
reports. It was like, hey, do
th-
I know what I'm doing anymore? I don't know.
they were fantastic. Those muscles of yours still work for sure. All right, Lucas Seehofer, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.
You betcha.
Thank you again to my colleague and friend Lucas Seehofer, Doctor of Epidemiology, Assistant Professor at Bethany Lutheran. Just the man to go to for all things injury related questions. We obviously hate injuries and wish they'd never happen, but when they do, it's great to have someone with the knowledge and expertise of Lucas to talk to and help make sense of it all. So thank you again, Lucas, for being here. Shout out to you, my dude, and shout out to you, Lynx fans. We're in January 2026. And however I am finding you today, whether you've quit on any New Year's resolutions already, or you're going fast and furious, whatever, I'm happy to be here with you, happy to turn the page over to a new year. And hey, when you start with your star player getting surgery right away, the year can only go up, right? So a lot of good things can still happen this year, so don't lose hope, don't fret, don't dwell. Be good to one another, and be sure to tune in to more episodes of Lynx Happy Hour. I know there's a couple more of these coming on the Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network with my guy Andrew Dukowitz, Missy Lynx Podcast. The episode should be coming within a few days of this one, and the one and only Mitchell Hansen's podcast, the flagship Hitting the Hardwood show. Be sure to be on the lookout for that, as well as more Hitting the Hardwood related announcements for the year 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you one and all for being here. Shout out to Nate Pence of Pence Homes once again. Shout out to Firehawk Construction, Fantasy Sports Evo, Homage.com, and of course, shout out to you, my dear Lynx fan. Thank you for listening. I'll be back again soon. We'll see you then. Until then, have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.